I mean, you hope so, right? I think with Alvarez, I like moving him up into the lineup. He's, certainly a power bat that, if they make a mistake, he can take it deep. Beatty, prior to this game, was starting to heat up, like we talked about pregame earlier. So, I like that aspect to it. I think below that, you're going to need to have better at bats and just try to work counts and see if you can get some base runners, which was such a problem in game one.
It was. It's amazing. Look at that lineup. Aside from Soto and Alvarez, when it comes to regulars, nobody's got an OPS above 700, and I think that is an indication of what's gone wrong here at this point for this Mets team. So we'll see if it changes. In Game 2 of the doubleheader, Jim and I are back once again. Mercedes-Benz postgame live when Game number 2 comes to a close right now. Game number 2, Gary and Roddy on the call once again. Enjoy it.
From Citi Field in Flushing, New York, Game 2 of the doubleheader between the Colorado Rockies and the New York Mets. And unfortunately for the Mets, Game 1 went much like many of the games so far in this early season. Nolan McLean, his stuff was nasty again, but he was nicked in the 4th inning. Troy Johnston with a hit to give the Rockies a 1-0 lead. An inning later, Tyrone Taylor would tie the game with a solo shot, but that would be all the Mets got offensively. Jordan Beck making sure of that with a fantastic catch. The frustration is palpable right now in Flushing for the home team. With that, we welcome you live inside Citi Field. I'm Steve Gelbs. Gary and Ron will be by in just a little bit. Once again, the final score of Game 1, 3-1 in favor of the Rockies. The Mets have now lost 14 of their last 16 games, and it's very simple. The offense continues to be anemic. 1 run scored in that first game. Now the 9th time in their first 27 games they have scored 0 or 1 run, the most in Major League Baseball. A third of their games they've scored 2 or fewer runs in almost half of their games. 13 of 27 right now, the second fewest runs in all of Major League Baseball. A lot of pressure right now on the Mets starting staff, and there's already pressure on today's Game 2 starter Kodai Senga, who has really struggled in his last 2 outings. Got a little bit of extra rest this time, hasn't pitched in 9 days, but after a solid spring and a good first couple of starts, has allowed 7 runs in each of his last 2 outings. Again, I ran the numbers of this Mets offense. If they are getting that type of starting pitching, they have no shot. So the Mets in desperate need of Kodai Senga to bounce back in Game 2 as they try to salvage the final game of the series and avoid the sweep at home at the hand of the Rockies. We will be back shortly with first pitch. Again, Gary and Ron coming your way next on SNY.
Well, we don't have the ambient sound from the ballpark, but we figured we'd try and get you the sound of the back crack.
Yes.
Our stage manager, Russ Relkin, is providing remote back crack. Go ahead.
Very good.
It's the way they used to do it in the days of the radio recreations, when the Giants and Dodgers moved to the West Coast. They would do the recreations of the game, do it over the teletype, knock 2 pencils together.
Really?
Yeah, but we have real bats.
I know. Very nice.
Whatever works.
Great.
You got to improvise in this game sometimes.
Taijuan Walker would prefer if there's not too many bat sounds while he's pitching.
Fly ball to right. Well, that was a different time for us back in 2021 when we were doing the games remotely.
I mean, we make stuff up all the time, but we were making a lot of stuff up in those days, right?
Well, for a period of time during 2020, we sat in different booths, if you'll recall.
That's right.
We had the clothesline going between the 2 booths to communicate with each other.
By the way, Russ was in charge of that as well.
Of course he was. Russ does everything. You just got me a fruit cup.
I just wish you enjoyed coming to the ballpark more. It's a good thing, Russ.
So they announced a 4:55 starting time. It's 4:55. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Infiniti. Experience their luxury SUVs at your local retailer today.
Buy a Spectrum. It's internet, mobile, and streaming TV all from one place. On the New York Lottery, you could win a grand prize of $40,000 with the Swing for the Fences promotion. Enter with the New York Lottery app today. And by Hyundai, test drive a new Hyundai today only at your local Hyundai dealer. Let's all play ball. You too, Kodai. Don't miss Play Ball Weekend coming up June 5th through the 7th, encouraging youth everywhere to get out and play. Visit playball.org today to register for a free event near you. I missed Steve's open to this game. Did he say anything interesting?
He said he talked a lot about the offense.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk, but not a lot of offense.
Well, that's where he concentrated most of his efforts.
Yeah.
So
I think that's probably it probably encompassed most of our conversation in the first game as well. You know what we haven't shown? We haven't shown the dancers in front of the dugout with their pom-poms.
that's right. So this is the first here. Senga went straight from the bullpen, and because it's supposed to be a 455, he went straight to the mound. It doesn't happen. There
they are. They put in a lot of work over the course of 2 games of the doubleheader. The leaderboard stat presented by Heineken. Well, it's true that the Rockies have the highest team ERA among active franchises, but that's, of course, caused mostly by their home games.
Yes.
They generally pitch better on the road, and they pitched well in the first 2 games of this series. There's the Hyundai starting line for the Rockies in Game 2. Hunter Goodman, who sat in the first game, is in there. So is their Gold Glove center fielder Brenton Doyle. Mickey Moniak moves down to number 3 in the batting order, as the Rockies look to sweep a series at Citi Field.
Toyota numbers for Senga. This is really a seminal start for Senga. He's got to be able to prove a couple of things, I think, to his teammates and his manager, and that is he's aggressive enough to go right after the hitters. And I think the second thing is that he's able to get that ghost fork working and gets a few strikeouts.
The problem with the ghost fork lately is it has not been a pitch that tempts the hitters. It's been uniformly out of the strike zone.
Oh, he's pitched a lot of hitters counts. So when you're behind, they can spit on that ghost fork. Defense for the Mets. Melendez gets his first start in the outfield and left field. Taylor and Benj. Bichette from shortstop over to third base. Mauricio's in the game, and Alvarez behind the plate.
Alvarez still getting his equipment together.
That's the genesis Mets defense, Gary.
Well, it should be, because we always do it at the start of the game. The second inning, we do Exodus. I think we're ready to go. It's only 4:59. Edward Julian, 2 hits in the opener. Kodai Senga ready to go. And his first pitch in Game 2 is fouled back, and we're back underway. Julian, Goodman, and Moniak. Julian Goodman, wasn't he an executive at NBC? Here's the 0-1. And the fork ball is popped up. Drifting out in center field is Taylor, and he's got it. And that's the first out in Game 2. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Hunter Goodman, who did not play in the first game of the doubleheader, went 1 for 4 on Friday night. His season off to a terrific start. Goodman last year had a 31 home run season. He's already got 6 this year. One of the building blocks for this Rockies team as they look to get back into a winning mode. They haven't had a winning season in 8 years. Fouled back by Goodman, a ball and a strike.
Well, the weather is cold, so that always helps the pitcher, but you're also going to have some shadows in this game So double benefit.
Senga working for the first time in 9 days. Last pitched in Chicago a week ago Friday. And that forkball drops in for a strike, and it's 1-2. Senga has always done better on extra rest. I don't know if 8 days rest is quite what he has in mind, but anything to get some positive results right now. He's had 4 starts this year, 1 good one, and then 3 really tough ones in a row. And he strikes him out with a forkball, so Senga's got that pitch working early, and there are 2 out in the opening inning.
You know, one of the things he was able to do in between these starts, because of that rest you were talking about, Gary, he threw twice off the mound in between these 2 starts, and maybe he has corrected a few things. Here's the motion. Starts really from that hybrid stretch, threw 2 fastballs, and then came with all forkballs.
Mickey Moniak swings and misses at a fastball, and that's the other thing. Senga has not thrown his 4-seamer as much as we expected him to with his velocity up this spring.
It felt like he was trying to trick the hitters instead of go after them.
Pulled down to first, handled there by Beatty, makes the flip to Senga, and it's an easy 1-2-3 inning for Kodai Senga. Good start for Kodai. Mets come to bat with no score. Well, the Rockies have used an opener in front of their talented young starter Chase Dollander in each of his first 6 outings. Today, he's going to open for himself. But he comes out of the bullpen.
He recreated it by coming out of the bullpen.
On the starting lineup for the Mets, Bichette and Soto and Beatty and Semien and Taylor playing both ends of the doubleheader. Ronnie Mauricio in there as shortstop.
Well, this guy throws 99 miles an hour plus. #1 pick in 2023 out of the University of Tennessee. Started at Georgia Southern, but then poached by Tony Vitello, who's now in San Francisco.
He's a Georgia kid, Evans, Georgia. Went 6 innings in his last outing against San Diego. Lost the game 1-0, but really pitched well. 1 run, 3 hits, a walk, and 9 strikeouts over 6 innings. Well, Bichette leads off against him, 2 for 7 in this series, and takes fastball outside at 99 miles an hour. There are very few starting pitchers who throw as consistently hard as Chase Dollander. Just a bit outside.
Oh, gee. Rockies defense brought to you by Defender. Moniak moves to left field. Doyle's in the game. Julian had to stay in the game after scoring 2 runs and a couple of hits in the first, and their hard-hitting catcher Goodman behind the plate for game 2.
Grounded down to first, and Rumfield backs off to get the hop, threw it behind Dollander, who reaches back for it, and both players able to execute to get the 3-1 putout.
Oh, well, to his left, makes a nice play, and then from his knees makes the correct toss to Dollander at first.
That shadow is right now about equidistant between hitter and pitcher. Tough sledding for the hitters right now. Juan Soto walked his last time up in game 1, which means he's now reached base safely in all 12 games to start the season, and remarkably, that's the longest streak he's ever had to start a season.
Really?
Yeah. I would have thought it would be more than 12 games. Juan is 1 for 7 in this series. And takes one at his feet. A ball on a strike.
Well, I think the record in season, one season, is Williams at 83 or 84,
84, yeah.
games in a row. I mean, Soto definitely could be one of those guys to threaten that.
Ohtani got to 53 across 2 seasons before his streak was stopped. But, you know, when you have an 0 point whatever ERA,
makes up for it.
like, you can go a couple of games without a hit, and, you know, they don't crucify you. 2-1 to Soto with Alvarez on deck. And a late swing foul on that fastball running in. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Dollander has a couple of things. He has a little bit of a pause at the top of his windup, and then you think he's going to throw over the top, but it's kind of a three-quarter sling that he sends it in.
And that misses inside, 3-2. Louis Krupa is the home plate umpire. First time we've seen him behind the plate. A vacation replacement. Tall umpire. 3-2 coming to Soto. And he lines one up the middle for a base hit. So the Mets, who were limited to 4 hits in the opening game of this doubleheader, have a 1-out single from Soto in the first.
Well, hitters count, and hitters count. You're throwing Soto a fastball. It's going to be hit hard somewhere, and this is a bullet up the middle. I mean, that bat is just in the zone so long. So if you throw it in the zone, it's going to be tattooed.
Second hit of the series for Soto. He's bored with 1 out for Francisco Alvarez, and the catcher Hunter Goodman is having an issue. He's walking over toward the Rockies dugout, trading out his pitch comp. Chase Dollander, 24 years old. Taken 9th overall in the draft in 2023. He had a very disappointing year last year as a rookie. 21 starts. He went 2-12 with a 6.5 ERA. But he's been much more effective, especially better at throwing strikes since they've been using an opener in front of him. It's the first time they've allowed him to start his own game this year.
Well, the Rockies are telling me that he's one of those guys that gets super pumped before a start. And by having an opener, he's kind of just calmed down. But today on his own.
So here is Alvarez, and he takes a curveball for a strike, 0-1. Alvarez sat in the first game of the series, came off the bench, had a pinch hit single. First pinch hit of his career after going 0 for 28 up until that point. And he takes a slider outside, and it's 1-1. Alvarez 2 for 5 in this series, has his OPS right at 800. Well, if you can get 800 OPS from your catcher all year, you'd be thrilled. That curveball goes to the backstop after Alvarez swings and misses, and down to second base goes Soto.
I don't know how Goodman missed this pitch.
Went right through him.
Was he trying to frame it? No, he tried to backhand it and just missed it.
Fastball charged to Goodman, putting a runner in scoring position. 1-2 to Alvarez, with Brett Beatty hitting cleanup in this game, waiting on deck. And Alvarez goes down on the 99-mile-an-hour fastball. Dollander has his first strikeout, 2 away.
Boy, he makes throwing 99 look easy, doesn't he? Slight flick of the wrist, and that ball was right by Alvarez.
There's Brett Beatty. Beatty had a good first game of the series on Friday night. A very rough game earlier this afternoon. 3 strikeouts and a broken bat ground out. All 3 strikeouts were on call third strikes. Soto at second with 2 down. Brett lays off on the changeup, and Goodman tracks it down. 2 balls and no strikes. You know, you mentioned the flick of the wrist releasing the ball for Dollander. Watching his hand release the ball reminds me a little of Jacob deGrom.
Oh, good call.
He's got a different motion and different body type, but just the way that ball comes out of his hand.
I mean, it explodes out of his hand.
3-0 to Beatty with MJ Melendez next. And he takes a walk. So Dolander, who had only walked 7 in his first 25 innings this year, issues a 2-out walk to Beatty, and that'll bring up Melendez, who has had the misfortune of being the last out in each of the first 2 games of this series. Each time as a pinch hitter, now getting the starting role today.
We haven't seen MJ play any of the field yet, but it was the starting outfielder, left fielder for the Royals for a few seasons.
Started 5 games for the Mets as a DH. And that first curveball wraps around the plate for ball 1.
It's so funny. Lots of breaking pitches to Beatty, who he hasn't seen here against Melendez with 100 miles an hour. You'd think he'd be more aggressive.
2 on and 2 out. And Melendez watches that one on the outside corner. Ball and strike. MJ got off to a red-hot start for the Mets on the last road trip in Los Angeles and Chicago. It's cooled down a little bit since coming home. Fouls back the fastball, and it's 1-2. The Mets were right in the hot hand. They started Melendez 5 straight games.
He paid dividends each and every game. He was their best hitter on most of that road trip.
Soto at second, Beatty at first with 2 down. And Melendez takes up and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Marcus Semien would be next. Two out, 2 on, 2-2 to Melendez. And he comes inside, full count. Dolander has already thrown 22 pitches in this inning, has more work to do. Soto and Beatty get set to run. And Melendez skies one to shallow center field. Out goes Tovar to call. And he's got it, side retired. That's strand a pair in the first inning. No score after 1. Second inning, Tyler Freeman leads off for the Rockies. Freeman played in the opening game of the series on Friday night, played second base in that game, playing right field in this one. He's a career infielder whom the Guardians used more in the outfield than they did in the infield. 1 for 4 in this series. And that one nicked him with a forkball that ran in. And Freeman will be the first base runner for the Rockies. Don't miss the chance to have your youth baseball or softball team's picture featured in an upcoming Mets game on SNY. Just scan the code and submit your team photo today. So a runner aboard for TJ Rumfield, who's 1 for 6 in this series. Senga leans him back with a fastball, ball 1. Talking before about Senga being better on extra rest. He's working on 8 days rest today. In his career on regular rest, 4 days rest, his ERA is 4.63. On 5 days rest, it's 3.36. On 6 or more days rest, 2.87. So it would appear to be in his favor. This is low to Rumfield, and it's 3-0. But it has been instructive so far that he's been attacking mostly with fastballs and forkballs. He was so cutter happy in that last start against the Cubs. Swinging 3-0, and Rumfield was a little too quick.
I think he got behind so many hitters, Gary, that he was just trying to kind of trick them to get back into the count, and just got himself in a world of trouble. Three and
1 to Rumfield. And he misses down for ball 4. So Rumfield draws a walk, and the first 2 men are around in the second.
Watch the feet of the foul ball from the hitter here. Big high leg kick, opens up, and then kind of rolls over that ankle.
So now Kyle Karros is 1 for 8 in this series. First and second and nobody out. Karros showing bunt and takes a fastball outside for ball 1.
Might be the tallest guy ever asked the bunt.
Well, the thing about the Rockies is when they play at home, they should never bunt. But it's a different game on the road. And with the corners pinched in, he takes another fastball outside. Now it's 2-0. And his dad was never asked to bunt.
No.
And now 3-0. Kyle's dad is Eric Karros, who has more home runs than any player in Los Angeles Dodgers history. I just saw him the other day in L.A.
He did.
Some color on the TV. So Kyle Karros in his career has no sacrifices. Eric Karros in his 14-year career had no sacrifices. Second behind 3-0 after a walk. And there's a strike, 3-1. For all the trouble that Senga has had, the injury that limited him 2 years ago, the second half woes last year, his career ERA is 3.33. It shows you just how dominant he's been at times. In rookie season, he was phenomenal. Finished second in the Rookie of the Year ballot. Got some Cy Young votes that year. Last year, the first half of the season before he got hurt, he was phenomenal. But there's a recency bias. And, you know, he needs some good outings to try and stay in everybody's good graces. 3-2 to Karros, and he fouled it back.
Well, every time they have come in, or at least thrown a fastball against Karros, it's been inside, trying to tie him up.
Senga had an easy first inning, got him 1-2-3 on 8 pitches. He's had to work a lot harder here in the second. Troy Johnston, the DH, is on deck. Freeman at second, Rumfield at first with nobody out. 3-2 coming to Karros, and he hits a slow ground ball. Mauricio with a flip. Semion's turned too high. Beatty did a good job to keep that ball from going awry. So they get the force on Rumfield for the first out. Freeman to third. And Karros reaches safely at first.
Well, Mauricio did a nice job of charging this, but Semien knew he had to get rid of it quickly, and the ball took off on him. Luckily, Brett Beatty's 6'5".
So runners at the corners with 1 out, and now Troy Johnston. Johnston drove in the first run for the Rockies in game 1 of the doubleheader today with a base hit against Nolan McLean. And he attacks a first pitch fastball and fouls it off. Johnston played right field in the first game of the series, first base in the first game of the doubleheader, and DHing in this game. Ball drops in for a strike, and it's 0-2. The thing that characterized Senga through his good times was an ability to work out of trouble. It's not been the case this year. Innings have ballooned on him. And Johnston lines one into right field for a base hit. And that'll bring in Freeman with the game's first run. So Troy Johnston continues to produce his 4th RBI in this series, that time on an 0-2 pitch. And it's 1-0 Colorado.
Yeah, case in point right there, Gary. Is that he had him 0-2. He wants to throw the forkball out of the zone. It hung right in the zone. Nice pass at it by Johnston. This ball hit on the nose, too. 0-2.
Well, he got the second strike in the forkball in the zone. But ideally on 0-2, you want to drop it out of the zone.
You want to think of the plate. Throw it so it breaks on the plate.
So a run is in. 1-0 Colorado. Here's Ezekiel Tovar, who's 2 for 8 in this series. Tovar took a lot of pitches in game 1 of the doubleheader. Not taking that one. They have to move the on-deck hitter who's standing in front of the pitch clock. It's the second time in this series that's happened.
Everyone's concentrating on the pitch clock.
1 to Tovar. Well, there's no question that Senga is concentrating on throwing his best pitches in this game. Clearly that is something that has been drilled into him since that outing in Chicago. It's all fastballs and forkballs so far.
The only problem is that you're trying to be aggressive against an aggressive team.
One and 2 to Tovar. I mean, so far, every pitch except 2 has been a 4-seam fastball or a forkball. He threw 1 sinker and 1 cutter. And that's a stark contrast with what happened in Chicago, where he threw his cutter almost 40% of the time. 1-2 coming. Forkball hit in the air to left, right at Melendez. Measures it, makes the catch, and that's the second out.
You know, Gary, when you have gone through a bad run, you get sat down and talked to by your manager, pitching coaches, and not only do they want you to be successful, but they want you to change and be successful the way they see your strength. So you have 2 wars you're fighting, and Senga's trying to go through it right now.
Well, it makes sense when you're having trouble to get back to the things that make you successful. And you know, when Senga came back from the first injury in 2024, and then when he came back from the latest injury in 2025, his velocity was diminished. And I think he felt he needed to add in more weapons. But when he got to spring training and he was throwing 98, should have been a message.
And he's throwing, 95 plus today, so he's in a good spot.
1-1 to Brenton Doyle. He's 1 for 3 in this series. 2 out and 2 on. Doyle fouls off the fastball. It's always fascinating to me. You see a guy one start, and then because of whatever has happened, whether it's his own decision or the coaching staff, and then he's a completely different guy the next time, just in terms of how he's approaching his craft.
I think the biggest mistake you can make, it's really important to game plan, but you always have to pitch to your strengths. If you end up trying to pitch to the weaknesses of the hitters, you take away your strengths.
1-2 coming to Doyle. He hooks this one there to left center. Angling on it is Melendez, and he's got it. That retires the side. Rockies get a run and lead 1-0.
Where folks.
Home second inning. Marcus Semien leads off against Chase Dolander and swings and grounds the first one foul. Senga and his catcher, Francisco Alvarez, Hero, the translator, standing close by in case he's needed. Up the middle, and that's through into center field. A base hit for Semien. His first hit in this series. And the Mets' second hit in this game.
Two fastballs in a row. This one blistered up the middle off the bat of Semien. No chance for Tovar.
So the Mets have a leadoff base runner in the second, and now Carson Bench, who did not start game one. He's 1 for 5 in this series. He takes first pitch curveball down and in for ball 1. It's got a couple of men on in the first inning against Dolander, who had to throw 23 pitches to get through that inning. Now they've got a leadoff base runner in the second. Fastball by Bench, and it's 1-1. Ronnie Mauricio, the on deck batter. Well, Chad Tracy's 1-0 as Red Sox manager. Boston beat Baltimore 5-3. Were you as shocked as I was that Alex Cora was let go?
Shocked. I mean, if you are looking at or thinking about the best managers in the game.
There goes Semien. The throw by Goodman, close play, and he's out.
The reason that Semien was out, he beat the ball, but when he slid, his front foot popped in the air, and that allowed Tovar to apply the tag. I think he was going to be in there, but watch the slide and watch his front foot pop up. See, it goes up instead of at the bag, and by the time he puts it down, he's out.
So Marcus is caught for the first time in 4 tries, 1 out and nobody on, and that's inside the bench. We're talking about Alex Cora.
Yeah, I was shocked. So early, a guy that has the resume and World Series championship in 18. He's got a .540 winning percentage.
That's hit hard and snagged by Rumfield on a hop, and he beats Bench to the bag.
And if you, I don't know, if you consider the 5 best managers in baseball, he would be on a lot of people's list, wouldn't he, Gary?
Well, there's a reason why after he had the 1-year suspension, they brought him back. Whereas the Astros opted to let A.J. Hinch walk away. I mean, I can't imagine that if Alex wants to manage anytime soon, that there won't be a job for him waiting, maybe multiple opportunities. The problem that you run into is that his contract is enormous.
Yes.
It's in the second year of a 3-year deal that pays him about $7 million a year, which is, you know, a lot for managers these days. Ronnie Mauricio 2 for 3 in this series.
I think that's where you go now, though, because the Cubs manager signed that $8 million contract, and once he did, Dave Roberts upped the ante. He wanted a little more. That's where the good managers, that's what they get paid, or the guys that have a large resume. But the thing that shocked me, Gary, was that not only that he was let go, the entire coaching staff, including Veritek, who's a god in Boston, were let go as well. I mean, Veritek was reassigned. But still.
And Mauricio down on strikes, and he might have been the only manager in history to be fired after his team won a game by 16 runs. 1-0 Rockies after 2.
At the Home Depot, we've got spring.
Enjoy select $5 menu items at Citi Field on $5 Tuesdays. Restrictions apply. Go to Mets.com/5 for details. Third inning, top of the batting order. Edward Julian hits one up the middle. He's got a leadoff hit. So Julian, who had 2 hits in the opening game of the doubleheader, adds another one. Second hit against Senga to start the third.
Senga decides to throw a first pitch curveball, and Julian jumps all over it for a base hit.
So now Hunter Goodman will step in. Goodman struck out his first time up. By the way, that Red Sox win today, Aroldis Chapman passed Goose Gossage. Now has the second most strikeouts of any relief pitcher in history. And the guy who's number 1 on the list, fly ball well hit to right center field. Back in the gap goes Taylor near the wall, and it's out of here. Hunter Goodman goes the other way for his 7th home run of the year, a 2-run shot. And the Rockies now lead at 3-0. Goodman is a legit power hitter. 31 home runs last year. And now this 2-run shot gives him 7 this year.
Ball just kept carrying. He is so strong, and this has been part of what's really been hurting Kodai Senga as well. He can't keep the ball in the park. Fastball away, down. Not an awful pitch, just the talent of Goodman launches it.
It's 5 home runs now against Senga in 19 1/3 innings this year. To Moniak, who grounded out his first time up. Carl Edwards is up in the Mets bullpen. Just joined the Mets on Friday to give them some length out of the pen, and he might be needed for length in this game. And now Senga, after giving up the home run, is behind Moniak 3-0. Moniak, who leads the Rockies in home runs with 8. There's Edwards. Well-traveled right-hander who was starting down in Syracuse before he was called up. Now that's a 4-pitch walk to Moniak. And the bleeding continues for Senga in this 3rd inning.
Pitching coach is probably going to make a visit. Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, do you know who's number 1 on the all-time reliever strikeout?
Okay, give me a second.
Not recent.
I was going to say Hoffman, because he had so many saves. No.
Hoyt Wilhelm.
Oh,
Knuckleball.
That makes sense, because yeah, okay.
Well, he was around for 20-some years.
And he threw a lot of innings, right?
I mean, he didn't make a lot of starts, but one game that he started, he pitched a no-hitter.
Oh, jeez.
It's a lonely place to be on that mound when things aren't going well.
Hey, I've been there. It's the worst. Just feel like there's a spotlight on you, and it doesn't matter what you do. First pitch of this inning, he threw the only curveball he's thrown in the entire game, and it's a bullet up the middle.
Now Tyler Freeman, who was hit by a pitch to start the 2nd inning and came around to score the first run of this game.
But one thing I do know is no one's going to feel sorry for you. You just have to bull your neck and stop it somehow, some way. It's not football. You can't go tackle someone, but you want to.
Runner goes, fly ball out to center. Taylor is there to grab it. And back to first base goes Moniak, 1 away. So 1 out and 1 on. Now TJ Rumfield walked his first time up. You know, the Nats are coming here Tuesday night, and they beat the White Sox today in 10 innings. Pulled down to first, and that's a fair ball. Beatty falls on the bag for an out and then throws the ball into left field. And Moniak will go to third. Just an absolutely unnecessary throw. He had no chance of getting Moniak, and Beatty's error allows him to advance to third base.
Well, I was just wondering, did he fall on first? Yes, he did. Left foot on it, tries to make something out of nothing, and it cost him.
And that's continued to do things that just don't look good. And when you're not hitting, these little things just eat you up. So Moniak at third on the error with 2 out. Here's Kyle Karras. Karras takes outside. Ball 1, but the Mets are going to challenge the call.
Catch is challenging.
Call was a ball, and the pitch was a ball.
The call is confirmed. New York has
Mets
one
lose
challenge
their
remaining.
first challenge. Anyway, so the Nats beat the White Sox today 2-1 and 10. Who got the win? Dickie Lovelady.
Oh, there you go.
He'll be back at Citi Field with the Nats on Tuesday.
That's right. I forgot that he was with them originally in spring training.
Right.
And then came to the Mets, started the season with the Mets.
That was a rare, well-pitched game for the Nats today. Their pitching has been dreadful this year, but their offense has been great.
Yeah, you better be able to pitch Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because they can hit.
I mean, James Wood has evolved.
I mean, he might not have been this good, but in the first half, he was unbelievable last year and just kind of petered out. But I suspect that the talent he has is going to play for a full season.
I mean, he's always been a patient hitter, sometimes overly patient. But I think he's found the balance. As Karras swings and misses, coming into the day, led the National League in home runs and walks.
Well, evidence last year that if there was a complaint, he hit too many balls on the ground. Leading the league in home runs tells you he's hitting the ball in the air.
C.J. Abrams is off to a great start. The shortstop with an OPS over 900. I mean, they're just hitting like crazy. And the fork ball missed. Now it's 3-1. And they have the youngest manager in the majors in Blake Butera, who's just 33 years old. 3-1 to Karras. And he walks. Or does he? Yeah, he did. He didn't know, but it was ball 4. And that's the third walk, and that's going to be the last pitch that Senga throws today. So another ugly outing for Kodai Senga. After an easy first inning, the second and third proved to be too much. And he's out after 2 2/3, and Carl Edwards will make his Mets debut in long relief. Let's try to avoid getting swept in a series by the Rockies. Going to the bullpen, brought to you by Nissan. Shop NissanUSA.com.
With Citizens.
Well, from his rookie year until he hurt his hamstring last June, Kodai Senga was one of the best pitchers in the major league. Since then, it has been a big-time struggle. He's out after 2 2/3, 3 hits, 3 runs so far, 3 walks, a strikeout, a hit batsman, a home run. And Carl Edwards Jr. will pitch for the Mets for the first time, his 9th different major league team.
As Gary said, he did some starting down in the minor leagues. He pitched 2 games last year for the Angels and 2 games for the Texas Rangers.
Roy Johnston, first man to face him, and he takes a fastball for ball 1. Johnston had an RBI single in the second, his 4th RBI in this series. Funny thing about Edwards starting at Syracuse, this is his 301st major league game. He's never started a game in the majors. But he got his pitch count up into the 80s in Syracuse, so he's yet another guy coming out of the Mets bullpen who can give them length. They've got a plethora of those guys with Peterson and Lanaya and Myers and now Edwards.
Straight over the top, 4-seam fastball, curveball, change.
There's a strike, 2-1. Carl Edwards from Prosperity, South Carolina. Still lives there. Loves the small town life. Now pitching in the big city. Justin takes a changeup that misses high, and it's 3-1. First came up with the Cubs in 2015. Pitched as many as 73 games in a season with Chicago. Well, the curveball drops in for a strike, and it's 3-2. Always had that overhand look.
Especially in 3-1. Coming up in 2015 with the Cubs, he was right in the thick of it with their postseason runs. Mets got him in 15 and then went all the way in 16.
Wozniak at third. Karras will be running from first on 3-2 to Johnston. Beatty playing behind the runner at first. And Edwards misses down with a changeup, and the bases are loaded. This Carl, part of the celebration with the Cubs when they finally won it all after a 108-year drought.
Still tall and lanky.
Skinniest man in baseball. So now the bases are loaded, and the Rockies with a chance to break this game open with Ezekiel Tovar at the plate. Tovar flied out to left his first time up, and he swings and misses at a first pitch fastball, 0-1. Chase Dollander got, I guess that's a heating pad on the shoulder.
Never seen that.
I mean, you see guys, you used to see guys with the jacket over their
just
pitching.
one arm, right?
Guess it's the same concept. Keep that wing warm. Curveball hit on the ground. Bichette's got it, goes to second and gets the force play, and that retires the side. But a 2-run homer by Hunter Goodman knocks Senga out. It's 3-0 Rockies. Mets have lost 14 of their last 16 games. Things are not easy right now for Carlos Mendoza. Down 3-0 in this game. Tyrone Taylor leads off in the home third. Taylor started all 3 games in this series. Had a home run that counted for the only Mets run in the first game of the doubleheader today. Facing hard-throwing Chase Dollander. And takes a slider outside. 1-1.
Taylor took some good at-bats, especially this second one. I mean, the wind was rushing in. What, about a 15-mile-an-hour clip? And he hit it right through the wind.
Balls and a strike to Taylor with Bichette and Soto to follow. Dollander gave up a hit and a walk in the first inning, a leadoff single in the second. And Taylor hits one right back up the middle, but there is Julian playing behind the bag to throw him out, one away. And let us check in with the man who opened our broadcast, Steve Gelb. Steve?
You know, Gary, you mentioned it the other day that Bo Bichette and the Rockies, there's a connection there because of Bichette's father, Dante Bichette, who played for so long with the Rockies. But it goes beyond that for Bo. He said that it was a day at Coors Field in 2013 where he decided that he wanted to be a big league player, too. It was the year his dad was the hitting coach for the Rockies, and Bo used to come out to the field a lot. He'd hit with some of the guys, Troy Tulowitzki, Michael Kadire, DJ LeMahieu. And on that day against the Dodgers, there was a hitting group that only had 2 guys in it. And Yorvit Turrialba turned to a 15-year-old Bo Bichette and said, come on to the field. You're going to take BP with us on the field in our group. And he started hitting home runs just as far, sometimes farther, than the players that were actually in the majors. And he said, you know what? I can do this. I've got the skill set. And he said it was on that day that his dad stopped dragging him to the batting cages, and he started dragging his father to the batting cages.
You know, there was a time a few years before that when Dante was trying to convince Bo that his best athletic pursuit would be tennis. Because in tennis, you're only in charge of yourself. You can make your own career and, you know, be free to solo.
Also, you go to Rome and Barcelona, London, Paris.
Yeah, there's that.
Some good road trips.
I mean, it's not Cincinnati.
Let's not pick on Cincinnati.
Although Cincinnati has a big tournament every year.
That's right.
Right before the Open,
Huge,
right?
Huge.
Yeah.
I can only equate it, Steve, to Dwight Gooden used to have his nephew come in and hit with the pitchers. He was Gary Sheffield. He was 15. Let's just say he hit better than the pitchers.
That's outside ball 4, and Bichette is on with a 1-out walk.
The pitcher's called the ball. The catcher's challenging.
Catcher's challenging, so Bichette is out.
The call is
Second time in
overturned.
this
Pitcher's a strike.
doubleheader that
Colorado retains both challenges.
Colorado catcher has turned a walk into a strikeout.
It's interesting when this happens and goes against the hitter. And Dolander with the wow. Is that the hitter looks around like for someone to blame, because you really want to blame someone, but there's no one to blame.
Just a robot. Can't blame the robot for being a robot.
Can we got to give him a name at some point in our broadcast.
Pitcher's a ball.
Abs.
Catcher's challenging.
Abs.
And now we get another challenge.
2 in a row.
And this one he
The
lost.
call is confirmed. Colorado has 1 challenge remaining.
So, you know, that's a little hubris right there for Goodman. It's 2 out and nobody on, and you just wasted a challenge because you got the last one right.
Well, he hit a home run. He's feeling on top of this game.
Yeah. I wouldn't challenge Soto too often. 2-0 to Wanda with a base hit to center field his first time up. Make the right call with Sterling Optical. See clearly and look great doing it.
Goodman this year has challenged 29 times. He's been right 19.
It's pretty good. Overall, catchers are at about 60%. Hitters are under 50%. Pitchers.
The people that have a really vested interest, the hitters and the pitchers, are not so good.
Well, because they get emotional. Catchers can be more analytical. 3-0 to Soto. And he takes ball 4, so Juan's on for the second time. Second walk given up by Dolander. And now Francisco Alvarez will bat. The runner aboard, 2 out. Dolander starting a game for the first time this year after they used an opener against him in his first 6 outings. And so far, so good. He's got a 3-0 lead in the third. Soto at first with 2 down. Alvarez struck out his first time up. And he takes fastball strike. Chase Dolander went into his junior year at Tennessee. He was considered the top pick in the upcoming draft, but he didn't have a great junior year. And so he was not the top pitcher picked in the 2023 draft. That was Paul Skeens. I mean, think about it, though. Going into that season, he was rated higher than Skeens.
Well, remember, Skeens transferred from Air Force, so maybe less known about Skeens, but he had a brilliant year.
That's worked out. Alvarez lifts one out to right. Pretty well hit. Freeman, though, has plenty of room. And he's there to make the catch, and that retires the side. A walk and 1 left after 3. 3-0 Colorado.
Liberty, liberty.
Now, the Colorado Rockies didn't become a franchise until 1993, but they've had some stars, including a couple of Hall of Famers, Todd Helton and Larry Walker. Charlie Blackmon had a long and distinguished career. Batting title for DJ LeMahieu.
Dante Bichette, part of the Blake Street Bombers. Played their first ever game at Shea Stadium in 1993. They were shut out that day by Dwight Gooden. And it's always going to be one of the hardest places to win consistently because their home games are played in a completely different atmospheric environment than their road game. Brenton Doyle flied out to left his first time up. Carl Edwards, who finished off the third, starts the fourth and strikes out Doyle with a curveball. And that's his first strikeout as a Met. Kodai Senga lasted just 2 2/3, allowed 3 runs, 3 hits, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. And you have to wonder about his future in the rotation with so many other options available. Whether that be David Peterson or Sean Manaea or Christian Scott or Jonah Tong or Tobias Myers. I mean, there are a lot of other candidates. And that's 4 straight starts now that Senga has not been able to get deep into a game. The question is, if Senga isn't in the starting rotation, is he of any value to you in the bullpen?
No, I don't think so. I think that he's meticulous in what he has to do to get warmed up for a game. So I would say no.
3-0 to Edward Julian. So it's going to present yet another question.
If that wasn't the case, he's got a 2-pitch mix that would work, right? To retire a right-handed hitter late in the game. Only 8 innings pitched in his last 3 starts.
Julian had to base it up the middle his last time up. And takes fastball for a strike from Edwards. 3-2. With their loss in the first game of the doubleheader today, the Mets fell to 9-18 on the season. The last time the Mets had a record that poor through 27 games was the year Ronnie came to the big leagues, 1983.
I was on that team, certainly.
Well, you weren't on it when they were 9-18. You didn't get there till later.
I didn't get there till later. And what happens a lot is you have no idea how the big team is doing. You know they're struggling, but you're just worried about your own deal and getting up at some point. So when I got to them, they felt like a first-place team to me. I'll tell you. Couldn't wait to get on the mound.
It was the big leagues.
It was.
What more could you ask for? This ball 4 to Julian. Second walk given up by Edwards.
You know what's interesting about in between games, Carlos Mendoza was inferring that he didn't appreciate the effort in the first game. You know, he needed more, and it's a real tough thing to mention that because first thing people go, well, you're in charge of that. That's not completely true. It's on the players to do that, but when you say that, it indicts all.
Well, it's a shot across the bow.
Yeah,
and
like wake up.
You know, this is a meritocracy. There are no scholarships at the big league level, particularly for a team that has one of the highest payrolls in the history of baseball. And I know that managing is a much more delicate operation than it used to be. But at some point, you got to call people out.
You do have to call people out, and you know the problem is that, as we saw with Cora, you know, sometimes managers have less on their plate than managers years ago, but that is where the blame falls. It always will.
Always. It's a lot easier to fire the manager than, you know, fire the people above him. And a swing and a miss, and Vinton's down on strikes. So that's the second strikeout for Edwards, 2 out of the inning.
Showing a really good breaking ball has Carl in this inning.
So 2 out Julian at first, and now Mickey Moniak, who's grounded out and walked in this game. 2 for 9 in this series. And Edwards picks off the inside corner, 0-1.
And I think the game of baseball, how it's viewed by newer people to the game is different than it's ever been before. I see stuff on X where, can you believe he went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts? Well, that happens all the time. So a game that should be viewed a little broader is not anymore. I think it's viewed day to day by many.
There's a reason you play 162 games. Water tends to find its level. And that's not necessarily true in a week or two.
And
good curveball by Edwards. He winds up striking out 3 in the inning as against Moniak, keeping it a 3-0 game.
We were returning home, and
As good things are in store at Stop and Shop.
Nothing like a long day at the ballpark.
you know, Gary, you go to the top row, you get closer to the sun, get some warmth, meditate a little, reflect on your life.
Sitting up there in the euchre seats.
Front row. You can see everyone, though. They look cold. It's cold here today. Hit 1, Pearl 2.
Sweater should be ready by the 9th inning. But Beatty skies one out to left. Moniak back a few strides and over. 1 pitch, 1 out for Chase Dollander in the 4th.
I never went to, I only went to a handful of games anyway. As a fan, I know you went to tons. The doubleheader had to be beautiful for you.
Well, it used to be that doubleheaders were scheduled, and you plan your weeks around them. You know, you'd see that doubleheader on the schedule for a Sunday afternoon, and you would cajole your parent or other guardian into taking you for a couple of games and a couple of hot dogs and some peanuts, and it was a perfect day.
How young were you when you started going to games by yourself?
Probably 14.
No.
To MJ Melendez.
Now, there were no day-night doubleheaders, right? In those days? No, just straight doubleheaders, of course.
Played regular weekend afternoon games at 2. The doubleheader started at 1. And it was only 20 minutes between games then. You'd be out of there by 6 o'clock.
Now, a lot of fans love to go to all the ballparks. At some point, we had a knockoff checklist, all the ballparks around baseball. Did you ever go on a road trip to follow your team, like Philadelphia? Or
There's only one time I ever went on a road trip, Ronnie, and you were a big part of it. It was 1985 in St. Louis.
That's the only time you went on the road to see the Mets?
I was sitting in the center field seats in the upper deck at Busch Stadium as Melendez strikes out, watching you face off against the Cardinals.
Wow.
In that series.
So you were there.
I saw when Strawberry hit the clock in that game. It was right underneath us.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a great first game then, to travel to see your ball club.
Ground ball hit to short, and Semien is thrown out by Tovar. And a quick inning for Chase Dollander. He gets the Mets 1-2-3. Mets offensive doldrums continue.
Honda Sport.
It's your 4th and 5th inning recap. Mets had just 4 hits in the opening game of this doubleheader. They have just 2 hits in this game. Chase Dollander has been the beneficiary. But Senga knocked out early again. Carl Edwards has already worked an inning in the 3rd in relief. Stays in to pitch the 5th to Tyler Freeman. And he hits in the air toward the left field corner. Melendez ranging over. Makes the running catch. Melendez went a long way to get that ball for the first out.
He got a real good read on it, did MJ. And had a good first 2 steps. So off the bat, that looked like a double down the line. And he makes an out of it.
So can I tell you more about our trip to St. Louis? I don't mean to harp on it.
Did you go to all 3 games?
Yes, we went to all 3 games. And we sat in those center field seats for the first 2 games. Ripped down the right field line with foul from Rumfield. And of course, you won the first 2 games. The third game, we got seats in the upper deck behind home plate. Now, in those days, one of the big radio stations in New York was WPLJ.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? And they were running a contest for people who were going to the game in St. Louis. The contest was if you had a banner in St. Louis that said, "I love WPLJ and the Mets," you could win $500. So my buddy and I got a bed sheet and a can of spray paint
From the hotel room?
We
No, I'm kidding.
we actually did it in the parking lot of the motel we were staying at. And we spray painted "I love WPLJ and the Mets," and we hung it up because we were in the upper deck all the way in the back. We hung it up behind us and then started watching the game. Well, as you know, things didn't go so well in that game.
Exactly.
And along the way, we're sitting there moping that, George Foster grounded into a double play in the first inning as Beatty makes the play on Rumfield, 2 out. And some guy comes over and goes, "Is that your banner?" "Just leave us alone." He goes, "No, is that your banner?" I said, "Yeah, it's our banner." He goes, "Well, I'm Dave Charity from WPLJ, and you just won $500.
No way.
Yeah, paid for the whole trip. Great.
That is one of the great stories.
But
time.
we blame ourselves for you guys losing because we switched seats from center field to behind home plate, and we had the banner. It messed the mojo of the first 2 games.
What were you thinking? I mean, you just can't change seats after 2 wins.
Alcaraz takes inside, and it's 2-0.
I mean, ball players are so crazy superstitious. On a series like that, they always say stuff like same seats. You'll sit in the same seat because things are going so well.
Well, you know how people blame us for messing up no-hitters from the booth?
Well, you've been blamed for a while, though.
I mean, I'm not taking the blame for George Foster grounding it into a double play. 3-0 to Karros. And he takes outside ball 4. It's the third walk issued by Edwards. Tonight here, Bart Scott, Willie Colon, and Connor Rogers' take on this year's Jets draft class and how it could shape the team's future on Jets Nation Draft Day Special presented by Verizon tonight after the postgame only on SNY. Well, Edwards is not allowed to hit in 2 innings of relief, but now he's walked 3. And he'll face Troy Johnson with 2 out and a runner away. Johnston singled in a run in the second, walked in the third. He's having a terrific series. 4 RBIs in the 3 games. Rockies have only scored 10 runs, and Johnston's driven in 4 of them. The curveball by Edwards, and it's 0-2.
The thing I'll always remember about that series is after game 1, we were lucky enough to outlast John Tudor, who would have won the Cy Young if it wasn't for Dwight Gooden that year, is Ray Knight, who was just one of our most intense guys that I ever played with. He gave me such a bear hug with kind of, I want to say, kind of almost tears in his eyes because he knew how important that game was. And it was really a lesson for me and how much, not everyone, but certain players care. And no one cared more than Ray.
Well, I will say that was, you pitched a lot of great games as a Met. That's one of the most spectacular games you ever did.
I remember how it started. I walked Vince Coleman on 4 pitches. And a lot of talk had gone in before that game because Dwight was having such a year that why not alternate and have Dwight pitch game 1 and I pitch game 2. And Davey Johnson said it simply. He said, if we win on game 1 with Darling, then we have the advantage. And we did until the ground ball by Foster.
And Johnston goes down swinging on the changeup, and Carl Edwards continues to perform nicely in relief. He's got 4 strikeouts. Home 5th inning, Carson Benj leads off against Chase Dolander. Mets down 3-0. And Benj takes a slider inside for ball 1. Carson grounded out his first time up, 1 for 6 in this series. Benj, Mauricio, and Taylor, the lower third of the Mets batting order in the 5th. Verlander pitched a gem of a game his last time out against San Diego, allowed just 1 run and struck out 9 over 6 innings. And he is replicating that this afternoon.
As the Bolts inning pitcher in that game, he threw 102 pitches. That's a lot of pitches to throw as the Bolts inning pitcher.
He's very bulky. Gets a knee-high strike, and it's 2-2. Well, this is what they expected out of Dollander when they picked him in the first round 3 years ago. A rough rookie year, but his sophomore season going very well. And Benj lays off the changeup, and it's 3-2. I have to say that Carson Benj's at bats on this homestand have looked a lot better.
He doesn't seem so anxious and seems much more comfortable in the box.
3-2 coming. And Benj fouls off the fastball at 99 miles an hour. Again, the 3-2 from Dollander, and Benj hits it up the middle for a base hit. 99-mile-an-hour fastball right back up the middle, and the Mets have their 3rd hit of the game.
So he fouled the previous fastball straight back, and this one rides up on his bat just a bit, but strong enough to get that in the center field. Nice at bat. He's coming.
Now Ronnie Mauricio. Well, this is easy to say when a team is struggling as badly as the Mets are, but they can use some energy, and Benj has a chance to be an energy guy. That's pulled toward the home, base hit from Mauricio. Benj will pull in at second. So the Mets with back-to-back base hits from Benj and Mauricio in the 7 and 8 spots in the batting order. Mauricio's 3rd hit of this series.
Mauricio has that long swing that stays in the zone a long time. Didn't get that right on the good part of the bat, but he's so strong. He had enough to get that between first and second base. Benj smart, just goes to base now. And if he can turn over the line in front of Soto and Bichette, that's the way to go.
Let's get the tying run of the plate in the 5th inning with Tyrone Taylor, who homered in the first game of the doubleheader, the only run the Mets have scored today. And he takes the first pitch slider for a strike, 0-1. Tyrone grounded out his first time up against Dollander. He's had traffic in every inning but one. And Taylor shoots one to the first baseman, and that'll be a double play. Nothing that Mauricio could do. He gets doubled off. 2 out.
I mean, because the first baseman plays so far off the base runner will take a big secondary lead. The only problem you have is if the semi-line drive is behind you, and that's what it was here. Even if he froze, probably still out with the tag.
So 2 out, Benj still at second. And here's Bo Bichette. I mean, if you look at what the Mets have done this year and you look at some of the underlying numbers, they've had a dreadful offensive start. But part of that, not all of it, but part of it is bad luck. This one's grounded to short and right at Tovar. And so the Mets waste an opportunity in the 5th. Still just scored 1 run in 14 innings today. 6th inning, Carl Edwards giving the Mets some length out of the bullpen. He's already gone 2 1/3. Ezekiel Tovar takes his first pitch high as we start the 6th inning. Tovar's 0 for 2 in this game, 2 for 10 in this series. Rockies have had only 3 hits in this game. Well, 2 of them came on a home run by Hunter Goodman, a single by Julian, 2-run home run by Goodman. That came in the 3rd inning against Kodai Senga. Edwards has not given up a hit in relief, but he's walked 3, and now he's behind Tovar at 3-0, a hard man to walk. Tovar has the highest swing rate of any player in the major leagues. He's actually taken 4 pitches in a row. That will lower his swing rate. Tovar is still a young player. He's only 24. He's already won a Gold Glove. Already led the league in doubles once.
When I first saw him play, only a certain generation will remember this player, but he reminds me so much of a young Dickie Thon before Dickie got hit by Mike Perez.
Three-two coming, and he struck him out. Came back from 3-0 to get Tovar on a foul tip. That's 5 strikeouts in relief for Edwards. Let's see, night before last, or Thursday, Sean Manaea had 7 strikeouts in relief. Now Edwards has 5.
Manaea and Peralta combined for 15, I believe.
That's a more common occurrence now than it's ever been. Brenton Doyle has flied out and struck out 0 for 2. And he pulls one to third. Nice pick on the backhand by Bichette. And he gets him at first. Do or die pick by Bo Bichette. And he did. 2 out.
You're talking about bad luck. I'm sure Brenton Doyle feels he's hitting in bad luck in this series. Watch this. Top spin and everything. Backhand, stayed down with it. And a strike to first.
That is your All-State good hands replay. And now Edward Julian flies one out to left center. And Taylor stepping behind Melendez makes the catch. And Edwards has a 1-2-3 inning. To the bottom of the 6th, 3-0 Rockies. Hey, here's the road ahead. Your radio home for the Mets is 880 AM. It's streaming on the free Odyssey app. The Nats are here for 3 games starting on Tuesday night. And then the Mets start their next road trip in Anaheim starting on Friday. Juan Soto leads off in the home 6th inning. We'll have special guest broadcasters for both those series.
That's right. I know Murph's coming in for Tuesday, right?
Soto's challenging the strike. Well, yeah, Murph's doing the Nats series, and then Todd's coming out and doing the Angels series. And the Mets lose their second challenge.
New York is out of challenges.
Okie doke.
Soto's like 0-2, isn't he now in challenges? Shocking.
I mean, you can't be out of challenges in a game where you're down 3-0 in the 6th inning.
No, you can be.
No, I mean, you can't be. I mean, this is something that the Mets have been really bad at. Using challenges in low leverage situations instead of saving them for the higher leverage situation. 1-2 to Soto. And he foul tips it for strike 3. So Soto's retired for the first time in this game, and that's 5 strikeouts for Chase Dolan.
I think there's a simple way to think about the challenges that can change the way you go about Soto's swing here. It's a team challenge. It's not an individual challenge. Once you think about it, it's just for the team. It'll change how you challenge.
I think that it's an ongoing conversation that every team is having, and because every batter and pitcher and catcher has the ability to challenge, sometimes it becomes a knee-jerk. But it's something that needs to stay in your pocket until the right time. either you have to have a leverage count, like we've seen a couple of 3-2 third strike, ball force turned into third strikes. That's a high leverage situation, or there have to be runners on base. But to use your challenge on a first pitch of an at bat with nobody on base is not the right time to use it.
Should never happen.
Alvarez has struck out and flied out 0 for 2. And he takes a fastball for a strike from Dollander, who's still throwing 99 in the 6th inning.
What you want is you want a challenge when you're making the rally and you got the bases loaded and the pitcher throws a pitch and you have a challenge. You're allowed to maybe get 4 strikes instead of 3.
Sammy Peralta is up in the Rockies bullpen.
He was up in game 1.
3-2 coming to Alvarez. And he fouls back a fastball. He's still only through 100.
What an arm this young man has.
Mets have Luke Weaver up in the bullpen. They've got 3 1/3 hitless innings out of Carl Edwards. Dollander trying to get through 6 innings. Never gone beyond 6 innings in his big league career. So it looks like Edwards' work is done. Successful first outing for the Mets. 8th pitch of the at bat coming to Alvarez. And he struck him out with a slider. So back-to-back strikeouts for Dollander to start the 6th.
And think about the starting pitching that the Rockies have gotten in this series so far. Lorenzen, Quintana, and now the young Dollander.
Is that more about their pitching or more about the Mets offense?
It's a combination, but Lorenzen was legit, and Dollander throwing 100 in the 6th.
There's Beatty, who's walked and flied out.
And Quintana showed what he always shows, his toughness.
Well, sometimes when you're not going well and a pitcher pitches a great game against you, you say, well, it's us. He's not so good. But, remember Justin Robleski pitching a great game against the Mets in L.A.? He just threw 6 more shutout innings today. His ERA is 1.5. So maybe it wasn't the Mets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
1-1 to Beatty. And he slashes one foul.
It's like he knows the finish line's here, and he's just airing it out here in the 6th.
Threw 102 pitches his last outing. He's about to throw his 88th pitch in this game. Trying to finish off this 6th inning. Beatty fouls off another one. Dollander has walked 2. He struck out 6, allowed no runs and 4 hits. Two coming to Beatty. And he drives one to center field. Doyle stands his ground. And that retires the side. Let's go 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 6th. 3-0 Rockies.
In this fight together.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Ford, the official truck of the Mets. Test drive their amazing lineup at your local Ford stores. By Prevagen. And by Suffolk Credit Union. Be a HELOC hero at Suffolk Credit Union. That's a great looking park. Baseball diamonds, Columbus Circle. It really is a circle. Like a perfect circle.
It is.
Luke Weaver in to pitch the 7th inning for New York.
Luke Weaver's been pretty perfect, especially his last outing.
Landing on a 3rd against Minnesota on Wednesday and got the win. Facing Hunter Goodman, who hit a 2-run homer off Kodai Senga in the third to give the Rockies their 3-0 lead. Carl Edwards, 3 1/3 hitless innings in relief. He walked 3, struck out 5. And now Weaver in the 7th. Now, Ronnie, I noticed over there in your corner that your scorecard is a little more colorful than it normally is. You usually go with the bare bones white and black scorecard.
Well, I have to apologize to Keith. Now he's going to know. But Keith, I'm so sorry. I'm using your scorecards today because my family was fooling around with my stuff and my scorecard ended up in another spot, which is not good for someone like me.
Or me.
So I didn't bring my scorecard. I know Keith has extras here. I'm using his, and Keith, no markers. I mean, it just looks so bland compared to how you take score.
Broken back grounder, Semien to the wrong side of the bag. Off that one's throw, and he got him at first. Beautiful play by Semien. Going about 3 steps past the bag and throwing out Goodman for the first out.
I mean, how far he had to go. Ball was hit off the end of the bat, broke the bat, in fact. And that's about as long a throw as you're going to make. But the former shortstop has a strong arm and gets enough on it to get to catcher Goodman.
So the thing about Keith's scorecards is that even before he starts using the markers, he's already got, what, how many different colors are there? 6, 7 different colors?
Yeah, 8. 8 different colors.
Moniak lines one to center. On comes Taylor, but he'll have to pull up. And Moniak's got a base hit. His 3rd of the series.
I think what's interesting, I find, is that Keith always, well, first the hit, of course. Off the end of the bat, another one off the end of the bat from Weaver. But this one drops right in front of Taylor. I think what's interesting is Keith's always, all the numbers, this and that. He has more numbers on his scorecard than it's not confusing. It's amazing. It's just, I can see why he spends so much time on his scorecard, because everything you could possibly want to know, from runners in scoring position, risk with 2 outs, batting average against, it's all here.
Just because there's a box for a particular number doesn't mean you have to fill it in.
I did not do that.
And the pickoff by Weaver gets Moniak for the 2nd out. Second runner the Rockies have had picked off today.
Quick move. Moniak did not even move. That was one of those that he might not have been paying attention.
And you know what it was? Weaver never came to the stretch. He was just standing there astride the rubber and turned and fired.
And Weaver's body, and he's very lithe as well. I mean, it turned around like he was Gumby, the way he made that throw to first.
Lane picked off Jake McCarthy in the first game of the doubleheader. 1-1 to Freeman. Threw that fastball by him, and it's 1-2.
Keith just texted me in capital letters without my permission. So he's a little bitter. Sorry, Keith.
I'm glad he's paying attention. Broken back grounder. That's a couple of bats that Weaver's broken this inning. Bichette throws out Freeman. And so Weaver gets through the 7th unscathed. Still 3-0. Sorry, Keith. Here are your probable starters for the series starting Tuesday night against the Nats. Brought to you by Prevagen. Clay Holmes has been magnificent this year. He'll go Tuesday night. And Freddie Peralta will go on Thursday. Probably some David Peterson on Wednesday, either as a starter or as a bulk guy. Well, Chase Dolander trying to get beyond 6 innings for the first time in his career. Facing MJ Melendez leading off in the home 7th. Melendez has popped up and struck out. And he pops one a mile high in the shallow right. Second baseman Julian on the outfield rim. 1 out. Well, we've talked a lot about the Nats this week, how they are scoring tons of runs, but also giving up
tons of runs. And I think the lower note is probably the most interesting. They've not had a player over 28 years old taking the bat this season. Got some good young talent with James Wood and C.J. Abrams and Dalen Lyle, who came up last year and hit a ton. Asim Nunez is now playing second base. He leads the National League in stolen bases. So they've got a multifaceted offense. Now they just have to figure out how to pitch. Marcus Semien pops one up in foul ground, and Goodman watches it go out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
So Garcia's not playing second base for them anymore.
He's playing first base.
Okay.
There's your high-speed hitting brought to you by Spectrum. Okay. There it was. There you have it. Semien had a base hit back in the second. 1 for 10 in this series. Carson Bench on deck. And a half swing, and he went around on the slider away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Mets have already been shut out 4 times this year. In danger of being swept in a series by the Rockies for the first time since 2018. The Mets played the Nationals on Tuesday night. It'll be their first game against a division rival this year. Semien goes down on strikes. The first collision in the division.
You know, it's funny you say that because I was filling out my scorecard the other day, and it had, you know, what the Rockies had done in the West so far, and then I was looked what the Mets had done in the East. 0 so far, which is unusual, right? I mean, maybe not unusual in April at this point, but the games start in March.
You know, there's nothing usual about the way the schedule works now. Carson Bench is 1 for 2. I mean, it used to be back in the old days when there were 2 divisions, 6 teams in each division, and you played 18 against your division and 12 against the other division. There was no interleague play. You started the season and finished the season playing against your own division, which is, you know, that made sense.
Yeah.
You went to California, you played all 3 teams in California. Not 5 trips to California to play 5 different teams. It's nuts. 1-1 to Bench, and he lifts 1 foul.
We really look forward to it. In our day, when we go to California, we'd always have an off day. We'd leave after the Sunday day game, off day at San Francisco on Monday, and we'd fly commercial. The whole team would fly commercial. A lot less traveling party in those days.
Well, that's for certain. I mean, you didn't have sports science guys and analytics guys. Bench pokes one the other way, and he's got another hit. Now, this has been one of the few bright spots for the Mets on this homestand. Has been Carson Bench's at bats.
I just love that really he's hitting the ball where it's pitched, as opposed to he went through a stage where he was rolling those pitches over. Not anymore, or not right now.
Did he hit that with his eyes closed?
I don't know. Something. You know, the catchers catch the pitch with their eyes closed.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner for Mauricio, who had a base hit his last time up. Ronnie's 3 for 5 in this series. Didn't start the first game of the doubleheader, but he's going to be out there just about every day at shortstop for the time being. Slow curve by Dolander, and he gets ahead 0-2. Raley up in the Mets bullpen. If you're wondering why Weaver and Raley, well, the Mets have an off day tomorrow. These guys haven't pitched in a few days. Weaver hadn't pitched since Wednesday. And Mauricio pops one up on the infield.
Julian hurries in and puts it away to retire the side. Mets have scored 1 run in 16 innings today. They're down 3-0 after 7.
GLC goes further for the ones you love.
11 only on SNY.
It's Gary Apple and Jim Duquette, Mercedes-Benz. Postgame live on the way. Going to take a look at what has become, Jim, an anemic offense.
Yeah, and we have to look at Kodai Senga's rough outing again and what is next for him.
All right, we will see you guys coming up on the postgame show. Gary.
We will wait impatiently for that. Meanwhile, Brooks Raley will come on to pitch the 8th inning for New York.
Went 2/3 of an inning his last outing with a strikeout.
It was on Wednesday, so it's the end of the off day tomorrow. Getting Raley an inning of work here. TJ Rumfield leads off for the Rockies in the 8th inning. 0 for 2 and a walk in this game. And he hits it sharply. Semien with a nice grab on the backhand. 1 out. Last 2 innings have featured some difficult plays for the infielders. Your All-State Good Hands replay.
I mean, beautiful pick on the backhand. Gathers himself, crow hop, and a strike to first. Ball hit right on the nose by Rumfeld.
So 1 pitch, 1 out for Raley. And here's Carl Karros, who's walked twice in this game. Do you know that coming into the day, Kyle Karros had the highest line drive percentage of any player in the major leagues?
I did not know that.
And do you know that second on that list is the guy who's on deck, Troy Johnston. 1-2 in the majors in line drive percentage. I did not have that on my dance card. Popped up foul, first base side. Beatty running for it, and it lands untouched. In the old days,
Yeah.
when there used to be formal dances, men would ask women to dance.
Right.
And the women had a card which they tucked into their sleeve, in which they would write down the name of the man who got a particular dance with them. And you get the 4th dance, the waltz.
Oh, you got the order.
The 7th dance, the jitterbug, whatever it was. So when people talk about dance cards, it's used as somewhat of a cliche these days, but it actually has a legitimate root.
The beginnings of dating sites came right from the dance card.
Yes. It was the analog version of swiper left, swipe right. And when the dance card was filled, that's it. No more swiping. 2-2 to Karros. Dribbled up the third baseline, and that'll stay foul. Ball had a chance to come back fair, and Karros didn't run. Bichette thought maybe it would curl back. Ball's 2 strikes. Seth Halverson, recently back from the minor leagues, another hard thrower in that Rockies bullpen. And the backdoor breaking ball gets Karros looking, and Raley's got a strikeout. 2 out and nobody on. $18 innings is a whole lot when you're not even 18 months old.
So cute. Just before the sleep shutters will be kicking in soon.
Johnston takes a strike. Johnston drove in the first Colorado run in the 2nd inning with a base hit against Kodai Senga. He's also walked and struck out. Fouls back a high sweeper, and it's 0-2. Ronnie, I don't think there'll be a lot of traffic leaving the ballpark. 0-2 coming. That's it on the ground. Semien reaching to his left this time. Spins around and throws him out. Martin's had a nice couple of innings in the field. That's down 3-0 going to the bottom of the 8th.
every single day.
Too many days like this for the Mets early in the season. Only one run across 16 innings. Still in this game, though, down 3-0 as they go to the bottom of the 8th, and the Rockies take out one hard-throwing right-hander from the University of Tennessee and bring in another.
Yes, Self Halverson. He throws harder. He's had a pitch clocked at 103 miles an hour.
First one to Tyrone Taylor, a mere 98 for a strike. Halverson came up 2 years ago late in the season, and he was lights out. I mean, throwing 102 with regularity, and he was not touched during that first stint in the big leagues. Last year was a little more troublesome for him. Gave up more hits than innings pitched.
Still appeared in 42 games. Missed the last couple of months of the season with a strained right elbow.
Taylor is grounded out and lined into a double play. 0 for 2 in this game after homering in the first game, and he shoots one down first, and Rumfield makes the play. 1 out. On to Sportsnet comes your way at 11 o'clock. We'll have all the latest on the basketball and football, and maybe they'll even talk about some baseball. On to Sports Night tonight and every night right here on SNY. Bo Bichette 0 for 3 in this game, 2 for 10 in the series. Chase Dolander went a career-high 7 innings and threw a career-high 105 pitches. No runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. That's hit sharply toward the hole, and Tovar with a great smother and the one-hop throw in time. Tovar won a Gold Glove a couple of years ago, made a terrific play to throw out Bichette, 2 out.
Boy, he has 2 gems in this series. One to his left in Friday's game, and this one to his right. Gets up and knows how to make that one hopper to first base. You know, he might have impatience at the plate. He does not in the field.
2 out here, Soto. One has been on base with a single and a walk in this game. Now reached base safely in all 13 games he's played this year. Fastball in for a strike, and it's 1-1. Soto takes the pitch high, 2 balls and a strike. Devin Williams up in the Mets bullpen. He was up late in the first game where the Mets were trailing. And like Weaver and Raleigh, Mets want to get him an inning before the off day. Soto pops one up foul. That'll go out of play, and it's 2-2. There's that fine line between using relievers too much and not getting them enough work.
Well, if they got a day off tomorrow, that's not using them too much. The thing you always worry about, though, is they're adrenaline junkies. You know, they like those big moments. But listen, it's not like it's been a fine line and perfect, so it's a good time to work on things.
And the way Williams has been going, you'd like to get him a low pressure inning.
Yep.
Full count to Soto. Francisco Alvarez would be next. Still smiling. Still got enthusiastic responses. No hanging of the head. That's a big head to hang. Inside ball 4, and Soto's on base for the 3rd time in this game. He's a dancing machine. Jersey, rooting for her favorite. They're all his favorite. Francisco's 0 for 3 in this game with a couple of strikeouts. And he takes the breaking ball up and away for ball 1. Alvarez 2 for 9 in this series. Soto at first with 2 out. And he takes a big rip at a fastball, and it's 1-1. Seth Halverson deals the 1-1. And that catches the outside corner, and he's ahead on Alvarez 1-2. On the ground, Tovar's got it. Gets the force, side retired. On to the 9th we go. 3-0 Rockies.
Feel good.
Hey kids, you can join us in the booth to call a half inning of a Mets game on SNY. Parents, scan the code and submit your child's video for a chance to win the 2026 SNY Kidcaster contest presented by HSS.
We had some of the Kidcasters have gone on to be
real
announcers.
broadcasters.
Yeah, that's great.
Evan Williams will pitch the top of the 9th.
Just surviving this booth puts them way past their peers.
The thing about the Kidcaster contest is, unlike the Coach for a Day contest, Keith should be around to participate in it. Ezekiel Tovar leads off in the 9th. 0 for 3 in this game, and he fouls back the first pitch from Williams. You know, I'm sure that you have been blessed, as many on our crew have been, with Keith's thoughts about the games while he's been away. I don't know if you saw, but Mike Puma in the Post had a little story about Keith, a little conversation that he had a few days ago. Wrote about, Keith's thoughts. He only wrote a few lines. But Mike told me that he spoke to Keith for about a half an hour. And, about 2 minutes of it was usable.
Kind of like our broadcast.
Well, he does have a cough button.
He
here.
does.
I mean, there's a school of thought, and Keith, pardon me if I'm wrong about this, but that Keith is actually more into the games when he's not here than he is when he is here. Good changeup by Williams, and he gets Tovar for the first out of the 9th. See how much he's smiling?
Well, maybe that's where he's going, is that we will still retain the 3-man booth, but he'll be doing it from home.
Remotely.
Yeah.
Do it like the Mike Krukow system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got a crank on the bottom of the bed to see the chart with his heart rate.
Brendan Doyle trying to butt his way on and fouls it off. Well, I know one thing. When Keith returns, and right now he's scheduled to return when we go to Colorado.
Yeah.
Which is, what, a week from tomorrow. I think he will be pumped. Pumped. I only worry that there might be too much adrenaline. Like a guy coming back from the injured list and wanted to throw his best fastball in the first inning.
Like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, and since he'll be returning at Coors Field, those games sometimes can be lengthy. You have to pace yourself. Doyle swings at the high fastball, and it's 1-2. Brenton Doyle 0 for 3 today. hit a ball very sharply his last time up. That Bichette made a nice play on the backhand. It's got some good infield defense in this game. They just haven't had enough offense to make it worthwhile. Zach Agnes is up in the bullpen for the Rockies. And so we'll have Beatty, Melendez, and Semien due up in the bottom of the ninth. Now those are the diehards.
Yes.
Good changeup. So Williams with back-to-back strikeouts, both on the airbender, and there are 2 out in the ninth.
You know, Carlos Mendoza was asked about Williams the other day, and he said, you know, it's really that airbender pitch. It's usually has a lot more movement, so today we're seeing that. To me, when I watch Devin pitch, every fastball's got to count, because if he gets the batters at all thinking about that every time he throws a fastball it's going to be a strike, he's going to be working the pitcher's counts, it makes that airbender impossible to hit, because then he doesn't have to throw a strike with it.
Edward Julian is 1 for 3 and a walk. He scored a run in this game. Only 3 for 7 in the doubleheader today. Takes that changeup for a strike, and it's 1-2. Ronnie, apparently it's all about the cheese. 1-2 coming. Breaking back grounder. Williams avoids the shard of bat, and Semien throws on Julian for a 1-2-3 inning. To the bottom of the ninth we go. Mets down 3-0. Last of the ninth inning in game 2 of the doubleheader. Rockies won the opening game 3-1 after winning the first game of the series Friday night 4-3, and Zach Agnos trying to finish off a sweep for Colorado.
Well, Zach has really been more like their long man this year. Last 5 appearances, 3 of them have been 3 innings of more work.
Brett Beatty takes his first fastball for a strike. Beatty's 0 for 2 in this game, 2 for 10 in this series. Melendez and Semien to follow. Mets have already been shut out 4 times this year. Beatty swings and misses at a splitter, and it's 0-2. Chase Dolander went the first 7 for Colorado. No runs, 5 hits, 7 strikeouts. Seth Halverson pitched a hitless 8th, and now Agnos trying to finish it off. Got the mustache straight out of a spaghetti western. One-two coming to Beatty. Up and in. 2-2.
Well, he stood him up with that fastball up and in. Split finger coming now.
Agnos, 25 years old, out of East Carolina. 2-2 coming to Beatty. And he misses down with the sinker, and now it's 3-2. Let's need base runners. Three-two. Bounce foul. Rockies have not swept a series from the Mets since 2018. They're 3 outs away from accomplishing that feat. Team that lost 119 games last year. And Beatty skies one to shallow center. And Doyle is right there. 1 out. Write the names on the lineup card. and then they have to go out and perform.
They do.
And they 17 innings today. The Mets have scored a total of 1 run. Here's MJ Melendez, who's 0 for 3. And he flies one down the left field line. Over toward the corner goes Moniak, disappearing from our view, and it hits off the wall. And Melendez into second base with a double. Moniak got close to that ball, but not close enough, and then it bounced back past him, and Melendez has a long double, and the Mets have some life in the ninth.
That ball seemed to not get knocked down. In fact, it seemed to carry a little bit off the bat of Melendez. The first one this afternoon that we've seen carry it all. Right off the wall, gets by Moniak for the double for Melendez.
So the Mets need one more base runner to get the tying run to bat. The offense has been so stagnant that 3-0 has felt like 13-0 all day, but it's still only 3-0. Semien 1 for 3, and he skies one to shallow right. Back goes the first baseman Rumfield, and he's got it for the second out. And so the Mets are down to their final out of the day, with Carson Bench, who's probably at the best at bats for the Mets in this game, coming up. Bench at a single to center and a single to left. 3 for 8 now in this series, as he pushes that batting average up toward the Mendoza line. Trying to keep the Mets alive and give Mauricio a chance on deck. And Bench takes the strike, 0-1.
Begnos 4 saves in 2025. He's got 1 on the season this year.
Bench skies one to left. Coming over toward the line is Moniak. And he gets there and makes the catch, and the Rockies complete the sweep. Their first sweep against the Mets since 2018. The Mets score 1 run in 18 innings in today's doubleheader. And they've fallen 10 games under 500 in April as the Rockies win this one 3-0.
Well, the Rockies pitchers, from Michael Lorenzen on Friday, his best outing of the season. Quintana was sharp in game 1. Best outing as a starter, because it's his first one as a starter today by Dolander. Just too much for the Mets, who are looking for answers.
The Mets have now played 28 games this year. In 14 of the 28, they've scored 2 runs or fewer, including both games today, losing the opener 3-1 and losing the nightcap 3-0. Here's a game summary. Kodai Senga knocked out in the 3rd inning, and the Mets had no offensive response as they're held to 1 run and 10 hits in 2 games today, as the Rockies sweep this 3-game series and drop the Mets to 9-19 on the season. We'll come back with more from Citi Field after the Rockies doubleheader sweep in just a moment.